sure that it has.
Okay, well, we can edit it out later.
Yeah.
So, hi everybody, this is Smashlock here, and today I'd like to bring you an unscripted impromptu video that has to do with this new O'Keefe video. Is that what the guy's name? Mr. Dragonbeard?
Yeah, I think his name's O'Keefe. The channel is the Project Veritas. You can see it here on the screen.
Okay, so Project Veritas is this independent media outlet, I think, that has gone in undercover and gotten some video recordings of some different agents in the various branches of the Democratic campaign machine, and managed to get them to somehow amazingly admit to some pretty horrible shit, which in my opinion should be a game changer for this election. But it remains to be seen whether or not the public will actually latch on to this as being something worthy of note.
Well, it took long enough even for Fox News to bring it up. I was aware of this, I think, when did this come out? On the 17th. Well, I was aware of it the day it came out.
Yeah.
And so Fox is behind even what YouTubers are talking about here.
Right. So,
and if you're a liberal, feel free to do what most liberals we've talked to about this so far, and just say you don't like the person who made the video, and then ignore any content and evidence within it.
Right.
Summarily.
And that actually seems to be a little bit of what I've encountered too, both on Facebook and Twitter, through discussions, is that a lot of the people who are already firmly in Hillary Clinton's camp because reasons just absolutely refuse to look at the content of the video because they don't like either the person who made it, or they just can't bring themselves to face the prospect that their preferred candidate is engaged in behavior that in any other historical context would be considered horrible. And you know what? This is where this kind of video is going to go. We're gonna play a little bit of this O'Keefe video, and then we're gonna talk about how Trump has been compared to Adolf Hitler. But then we're gonna look at this Democratic Party video, and we're gonna compare it to Nazi Germany's brown shirts.
Yeah, the rise of what we have now historically understood as the Nazis started with brown coats. You know, I think
brown coats,
right? It was brown shirts, whatever. They were very brown and probably smelled bad.
Talked about well, you know, like the brown shirts were essentially the political wing of the Nazi Party.
They were the if there was the mind,
they were the hand,
which were the organizing part, and Hitler was eventually the mouth. This was the hand. Yeah.
Right. The brown shirts essentially were instrumental in his rise to power. They would go out and bully, threaten, commit vandalism, and other acts of violence.
And straight up violence against other parties' supporters.
Yeah. And if you can't see the parallel between the brown shirts and what's happening in this O'Keefe video, then nothing is going to convince you that...
And you and I are both open to any kind of counter information that people have. But this is very new that this has been released. And at this point, I haven't heard anything, even from the Democrats, the highest reaches. The only thing they have said is that they're not going to comment, and that they don't think it was legal, that, you know, possibly it was illegal the way they were recorded.
I think it was,
which is pretty weak-ass response.
Yeah, I think it was recorded on Fox News that they said that basically... these were hypothetical situations that were being discussed, and that it was dishonest reporting, information gathering. That basically he fished these answers out of these people as if it was, you know, what would you do if kind of scenarios.
Right. And these people were all so stupid as to sit there and go through hypotheticals of criminal behavior.
Right, and brag about it with smiles on their faces, like they actually enjoyed
stretching
doing
credulity a little bit.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the video.
It doesn't matter what the freaking legal and ethics people say. We need to win this motherfucker.
Hillary is aware of all the work that you guys do. I hope.
The campaign is fully in.
And then they tell Hillary what's going on.
Well, I mean, Hillary knows through the chain of command.
Yeah.
Already, this doesn't make sense.
We need to start this shit right away.
Let's pause that. Yeah. So hypothetically, she's asking very clearly, oh yeah, Hillary knows about this, And he's not being like, well, hypothetically, yeah, she kind of knows what would be going. Like, if we were doing this, she would know.
Yeah. Well, like I studied theater for years. Mm-hmm. We did play games with hypothetical to get into characters, right? So, for instance, I had one play, just 2 actors in it when I was in 3rd year directing. And they were both friends of mine, but one of the things that I did that they both seemed to really like help get them into character is that I played, because they were both hitchhikers in the play. Mm-hmm. I played a local sheriff that walked in and started interrogating them about what they were doing at the side of the road. You know, so for him, I took a lot of the tactic of, why are you hanging out with this young lady? Don't you think that's a little, inappropriate? Hitchhiking with this young lady, like, what's going on here? Where are your parents? Where are you from? And he had to start trying to think in the mode of this character outside of the script. Now, just for anyone who's in theater, obviously we went back to the script for the show. This is just a game that you play, right?
Right.
Try
to trip up the actor.
The idea for anyone who's played a game like that's what's going on here, is absurd.
Right.
There is no scenario where I would look at this dude right now here that's smiling at us like a creep with this weird tie on. I don't like his tie. And I would say, hey, let's pretend you're an evil Democrat that's trying to undermine society. Go.
Right.
There's just nothing that makes no sense.
Not to mention that a lot of people who have, in my experience, when you have like an ideological conversation with somebody where, in the past we've said, hypothetically, if Jesus was X, and then most of the time what you find is that when you're trying to give them any sort of hypothetical where their preferred character, in this case Hitlery ClitTon, is a bad person doing bad things, the typical response is, well, I can't do that. That would never happen. Right. I can't do that. No, Jesus would never do that. Hillary would never do that. And then they become flustered or confused or angry. But these individuals seem to be more than happy to engage in this conversation with this individual. However they manage to get these people to talk, you gotta commend their efforts in gaining their trust.
Well, the one thing I was concerned about when I first watched it, because I didn't know the guy at the source, but apparently a lot of people don't like his previous stuff. He's done like editing stuff they didn't like, whatever. Fair enough. Okay, one of the things I was concerned about, are these people the people they're saying they are? Do they actually have the jobs that they do? But according to what we're seeing on Fox, yes, they do have the connections. They're even now uncovering money, evidence of money, like treks and the traveling of money between the groups, like is discussed.
Well, let's ignore Fox for a second, because anyone who gives a crap about this is going to immediately discount Fox as a biased source.
I don't think that it was their investigation that he was talking about. It's other people who uncovered this.
No. I think Fox's reporting on this has been spot on so far. But I just mean most people will discount Fox because Fox.
Right.
But to me, the source of the information matters less than the content of the information.
Right.
What's being presented here has been confirmed. These people are members of democratic organizations and ground part of their ground game.
Isaac Newton was an asshole by all measures.
Right.
He was a downright asshole. Good thing that we didn't care about that when we looked at the evidence he brought forward.
Right. He also believed in alchemy.
And I didn't know this, but apparently Einstein did like the ladies quite a bit.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah. I think maybe he's related to Trump.
Oh. grabbing physics by the pussy. All right, moving on.
Through space and time.
Okay. On every one of these fronts.
Okay. What I call it is conflict engagement.
That's your version of reenfranchisement.
Conflict engagement in the lines at Trump rallies. We're starting anarchy here.
All right, stop.
This is part one of our undercover.
All right, so they're starting anarchy here.
Yeah.
This is not a hypothetical. If we wanted to do this, we would start anarchy. No, they are saying outright, we are starting anarchy here, and this is down the line. By any examination of historical context, almost precisely what Hitler did with his brown shirts.
It's a strategy. We refer to him, but this happened variants of this happened in many places.
Yeah.
At different times, right? It's happened in ancient China.
Right. You get together groups of young individuals or disenfranchised groups. You pay them enough to make it worthwhile for them to go to a political rival's rally or gathering or something to that effect.
Provoke masses into make them feel afraid of things that aren't really impending.
Right. And so this brings into question, like this was accused about, or not accused about, but this was brought up several months ago. That they were saying that this was happening, and everyone just discounted it as tinfoil hat wearing paranoid propaganda.
Yeah.
And now it's coming out with 3 weeks left before the election that it's true. It's true, and it's been true for a while.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So this is the guy that people hate. I'm not sure why. I guess he's done stuff in the past that didn't like his editing about something to do with Planned Parenthood or something. But as far as I'm concerned...
Acorn. He did also some work with against Acorn. And
yeah, Acorn, that's it.
Yeah.
And, that might be true. I heard talk about it. All I know is it's irrelevant to me. If you can find problems with this, if you can provide additional information that puts it in a different light, I'll hear it. But this concerns me a great deal, what I'm seeing video evidence of here.
Right.
Investigation into the dark, backroom dealings of the Hillary Clinton presidential campaign.
There she
the
is.
culmination of a year-long investigation infiltrating the machine from the bottom all the way to the White House. There are concerns this election will be rigged. What you're about to see will make you uncomfortable and angry. It's graphic, uncensored, and disturbing. Our attorneys say there is strong evidence of criminality, and this is just part one.
There's more coming.
Oh yeah. You won. They're rock and roll.
So I'm basically deputy rapid response director for the DNC for all things Trump on the ground. Nobody's really supposed to know about me.
That's
what I'm saying. We
can skip past this.
What's that?
This is all intro shit. We can skip past this.
Yeah, you think so? Okay. So, all right, here is a... Look at that. Ooh. Okay.
He looks pretty amazed right there. Oh.
And you're protesting, and you do these
This is
actions,
one of the key guys that
you will be attacked at Trump rallies. That's what we know.
So that's part of the process of illicit.
What's that?
He's been fired now.
Oh, no. He decided to step down spontaneously because he didn't want to...
It was him that stepped down? Because I know one was fired and one stepped down.
Oh, maybe he was fired then.
Yeah.
Well, anyone who watches this can see why he would have been fired. Or
Right.
told he needed to leave one way or another.
Reaction.
The whole point of it is we know that Trump's people will freak the fuck out. His security team will freak out, and his supporters will lose their shit.
This is Scott Fovel. He is the National Field Director for Americans United for Change. He used to work for People for the American Way, an organization funded by George Soros. He also has his own company called the Fovel Group. He is one of the dark operatives for the Clinton campaign.
We are contracted directly with the DNC and the campaign, both.
Yeah.
Well, that there I'm not sure about. Because he says he's a dark operative, but he looks like a white guy to me.
Yeah, he does look like a white guy.
So we may have found a flaw in one part here.
Right, but I mean, I don't particularly like the sensationalized language of calling him a dark operative. Although that may be, in fact, what he is. It sounds almost like he's the Illuminati Grand Wizard or some bullshit like this. So just call him what he is. He's an
around
operative.
a cauldron at night.
He's the leader of the brown shirts. This is the asshole that goes out and
He's the
gathers...
thug that is secretly organizing thuggish stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am contracted to him, but I answer to the head of special events for the DNC and the head of the special events and political for the campaign.
The campaign pays DNC. DNC pays Democracy Partners. Democracy Partners pays the Fovel Group. The Fovel Group goes and executes the shit on the ground.
Democracy Partners is a private political consulting company with deep ties to Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama's White House, and the Democratic National Committee.
We are the primary mechanism.
Right there, he makes a series of claims. So these series of claims should be easily verifiable by anyone. So for the liberal members who argue that they're just going to ignore this guy because of his past works.
Right.
That's fine. You don't like him. You don't have to like him. Address the points. Is what he's saying factually accurate or not?
Right. Perhaps we're getting into the necessity of a school of skepticism this day and age. We could call it politic skepticism. There we go.
I don't know. So far, skepticism seems to be in the tank.
Skeptic rapper.
Yeah.
As a team, Democracy Partners is the tip of the spear on this.
Wherever Trump and Pence are going to be, we have a bench.
Okay.
And we have a whole team across the country that does that. Both consultants and people from the Democratic Party and the Democratic Party apparatus and people from the campaign, the Clinton campaign.
I just want to point out that he looks like a douche, and he's drinking a Starbucks.
However, that's relevant. Sure.
Well, his name is Creamer.
Yeah.
And he's got possibly a coffee with cream in it.
White guy named Creamer. Fuck.
Hey, Creamer coffee. Are they sending subliminal messages here?
Yeah.
Put cream in your coffee.
Yeah.
I'm going to put cream in my coffee from now on.
And my role with the campaign is to manage all that.
Bob Creamer is Democracy Partners. He is the husband of Jan Schakowsky, a Democratic congresswoman from Chicago, and in 2005 he pled guilty to tax violations and bank fraud. He was convicted and sentenced to 5 months in prison and 11 months of house arrest.
Dodger, eh?
He founded
11 months of house arrest. Oh my God. And they are pointing their finger at Trump.
Right. Your friends, like George Soros and Bob Creamer, are dodging the tax man and getting fucking jailed for it. Like, convicted for fucking tax fraud. And you're pointing the finger at Trump? Sure, Trump might be fucking tax dodging, but this guy went to fucking jail for it. And he works for her in a roundabout way.
Yeah. Well, that's how they get it all done.
Right.
What was it, the joke that Newt Gingrich just said? It's like a sad revision of a new version of the Godfather.
Democracy Partners in 2011.
Just for a little orientation, Democracy Partners is kind of a group practice of a variety of consultants that do essentially a wide variety of different kinds of political consulting.
I work with Bob Creamer one-to-one all the time. I'm the white hat. Democracy Partners is kind of the dark hat. Bob Creamer is diabolical, and I love him for it.
Yeah, completely.
This investigation has revealed compelling evidence.
Yeah, he's diabolical and I love him for it.
Right.
Hypothetically, now I'll be Yoda and you be Bigfoot. Go.
The guy who spent 11 months on house arrest is diabolical, hypothetically.
Yeah.
He would never do anything immoral or unethical.
I had to listen to years of people talking about how evil Dick Cheney was, and maybe he is really evil. He wasn't my favorite. I had always misgivings about him. But apparently only Republicans can be criticized for that.
Right. If any of this was coming out of the Trump campaign,
Oh my God.
some of the shit that he is being accused of now, like the string of women coming forward claiming sexual assault, all of a sudden,
Yeah.
3 weeks before the election.
What else do they have, man? Personal attacks.
That's all they've had. They tried to beat him by doing exactly what we're watching here. They tried to beat him by making it sound like his followers were violent, bigot, racist, sexist, homophobic, you name it, basket of fucking irredeemable deplorables.
Right.
And now we're finding out that they've essentially been sending fucking head cases and paid thugs to these fucking rallies to piss people off, to draw out people into conflict so that they can camera and claim victim status.
Yep. In short, they're poopy pantses.
Yeah. We're gonna have to cut some of this out.
Or we'll just speed it all up to twice as fast so it'll sound like Mickey Mouse.
Nice.
Dark money conspiracy, a violation of federal campaign coordination laws between Hillary Clinton's campaign, Priorities USA, Hillary's super PAC, and the Democratic National Committee.
I'm not sure how much you want to go through yet. You just let me know when you think this is getting a bit too long. This is probably already close to a 15-minute long video.
Quick deliverables that we have to deliver every day for our groups of clients who are involved in these projects. AUFC, A4C, which is Alliance for Change, Alliance for Retired Americans, which is part of AFL-CIO. They're one of our partners on the AUFC stuff, for social security. Depends on the issue. And then there's the DNC and the campaigns and priorities. Priorities is a big part of this too. The campaigns and DNC cannot coordinate with priorities, but I guarantee you that the people who run the super PACs all talk to each other, and we and a few other people are the hubs of that communication.
Like, so you're kind of like intermediaries between the super PACs and the DNC, but the DNC, they can't talk to each other. Okay, but you guys are kind of
there. See, that's you. It's you, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
It's got the vapor.
The e-cig, right?
So we're not the official entity, and so those conversations can be had between consultants who are working for different parts. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why there's Bob, who's the primary there, and I'm a sub to him, and I'm also primary to AUFC separately. That's why.
So there's like a more
sort of spider web hierarchy.
It's business for them. Yeah, it's business.
Yeah. Like, they've got this down to a science where they're going to figure out how to game the system and legally work it so that nobody gets in any sort of trouble breaking any sort of campaign laws, but they're still doing it in it's so disingenuous.
Look, I'm going to suggest that we don't go any further, just because people probably have a copyright issue, for the video itself. So we've shown a section now. That should be enough for people to start getting concerned about what they're seeing here.
Yeah.
We can link the video in the show notes.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can see the group's name right here if you just want to do a manual search.
Yeah, Project Veritas.
But yeah, so we're talking about brown shirts, or brown coats, or whatever. I figured we'd just do a quick search while we're chatting here and see if we can find anything about brown coats. Might be from Firefly, though.
Yeah, why don't we just try
maybe you're right,
Nazi brown coats or something?
Maybe you're right, brown shirts. Maybe I've been confused by a really good... I think you're right, brown shirts. The role of brown shirts. Let's see.
So we'll have to give credit to whoever made this. Yeah.
How did the brown shirts blah blah blah? So people know these images, but they started marching before they had power. Positive and negative ways. Wow. Okay, so let's admit one thing. One thing that's different so far is that the brown shirts had funny-looking pants.
Well, it's not only that, but I mean, like...
it's probably why they don't call them brown pants.
I think back in the 1920s and 30s, the uniform probably was just a sign of party pride.
Probably.
You were a member of the noble Nazi party.
Yeah.
So you could go out and incite violence with impunity and kind of get away with it. But now we understand, in the age of the internet with cell phones and stuff like that, you can't just go and rough up somebody
right.
or vandalize some place and then just have your buddy and you go, oh, we didn't do that. What are you talking about? We were just hanging around. So they have to have people dress up like everyday regular folk and then just go out and incite the violence by being
and actually, if people go and watch, follow the full video, go back and watch the full video when you get a chance, you'll see that they put a little old lady in the front row of a conflict. She's been on the news and everything. They name her, and this person discusses how it was one of their operatives, this little old lady. And it's to make the Trump people who responded look as bad as possible.
Right.
And who has the video? Well, they're ready to record it right there. And then they make sure that they don't, when they send it to the media, they don't include the front part where they were agitating. Right? All you see is the reaction. I had one skeptic I know, for instance, said that it's their own fault for responding in violence. And I said, can you tell me positively, without a doubt, that if somebody physically attacked someone you care about right next to you, that you would not physically respond? I think it's a pretty normal response.
Yeah, I would think that it's pretty typical.
I'm not talking about hitting an old lady, but I'm not sure how she was hurt. I'm just giving her as an example of putting her in the front row for something like this is wildly irresponsible.
Right. Let's see if we can't find any sort of violence.
Yeah. Okay, so we got I'm running around here. 1932, the essay.
600,000. Oh, here they are giving the Nazi salute.
Unemployed, unhappy young people who had admired the discipline and fighting quality of brown shirts. Now, look, some people might think that that's more Republican-oriented, but Republicans are not the ones who are pro social benefits, are they? So, you know, I'm not dogging on people who are unemployed or are, you know, unhappy and not wealthy and stuff like that, but the Democrats are the ones who attract them.
Well, they're the ones that create the scenarios under which these things become possible. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the Black Lives Matter movement, which is primarily, mostly African American, and then what you have are poor inner city black youth who are engaging in these violent riots and uprisings and chanting death to police, just to draw a comparison,
Yep.
are what? Young, unemployed, unhappy people that are being driven towards violence by propaganda.
Yeah, well, people need something to direct themselves towards in life, right? It's just human nature. And the only reason that I you know, I have to agree with you what you're saying there is that Democrats have largely been responsible for a lot of the areas that are very poor, you know, that the Democrats are blaming
black.
Republicans for. Yeah.
Right. You know, like was it Ben Shapiro who said, you know, how are Republicans to blame for the state of black inner city youth with their black mayor, their black city council, the black
Right.
You know, the Democratic mayor, the Democratic Congress.
It's a intellectual problem. It's a virus of the mind. These people refuse to question because they have the belief first, they put it in action, and then when things don't go the way they expect, there's always excuses, right? So maybe what we have here is a problem with the way that you're beginning ideas about how society gets better, or your application of those ideas. But we can't ask those questions. That turns you into a Trump supporter, apparently.
You're a racist. You're racist. Yeah, you're a racist.
Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do?
We're playing Nazi videos. Obviously, we support racism.
Clearly. Here they are marching down the street. Okay, so I'm not
you
sure.
can tell they're bad guys listening to the music.
I'm not sure if we're gonna get.
It's just playing marching video, unfortunately.
I was hoping that when I
Didn't
look.
they have fucking cell phones? No cell phone video. Then
Here we go.
Here we go.
Right here. This is them probably clashing with, I'm assuming.
Okay, so they frequently attacked and disrupted the meetings of rival groups, especially those of the Communist Party.
Right.
So let's roll it back there and play that clip, because that is, you know, that is relevant, and then maybe we can find a Trump rally.
Was used to intimidate any opposition.
Here they are marching. Oh.
So what you're not really seeing here, like they're starting fights here on the street, but what you're not seeing is that they would also go to other people's rallies and start the fights there.
Yeah. So how is this not precisely, exactly down the like? If you had a checklist,
yeah,
they keep accusing Trump of being a fascist, of Trump of being Hitler 2.0.
Well,
but it's the Democrats that are using fucking Nazi
this
tactics.
this is not the only thing. Like there are technique differences, right? Because of the time that we're living in. We were talking about that earlier. But it's the same philosophy, right? That we are right and they are wrong, and anything that we do is right. Therefore, right. So this always leads to these same problems, even if there's some tweaking done to how we get there. But also with WikiLeaks exposing all kinds of shit that the media is not talking about. Yeah, and then they shut him down. But they also are telling what's the response from the Democrats? They're telling people it's illegal to look at them. Right. You know, just the great party has spoken.
You can't burn the internet. The Nazis fucking controlled information by burning books.
Yeah.
Now you understand why they're supporting measures, like the Democrats are supporting measures to police the internet, because you can't fucking burn the internet, people.
Right.
You can't light the internet on fire. It's theirs.
But
the only way that they can control access to information now is to legislate it.
Right. And China has been a huge experiment in how to control the internet. It was a huge mistake to allow Google and everyone to go in there and play by their rules. It never should have been allowed. As soon as we did that, we bent and broke our own principles, and we endangered our own freedoms when it comes to internet, which has become critical to the way that we function as a free society. And well, you and I are Canadians, but we're right next to the States. We're a free society like they are. In many ways, we're
worse off. Fuck that. We had a guy go on trial for disagreeing with a feminist on Twitter.
Right.
We're, like as far as North America is concerned, we are the next step down from the United States. The United States, I would contend, still has a measure more freedom than us, but it's by a hair. By a hair.
I know Scotland, people get arrested for saying mean things about immigrants. Online. That one guy, he made a joke video about his dog being a Nazi, his girlfriend's dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's still got all kinds of shit that's fallen out from that.
I don't know if it's ever happened, but what confuses me is with all of these laws in the UK and in the Eurozone and whatnot, I know the UK is left. How has someone like Pat Condell never gone to jail for the things that he says? Like, I don't want him to. I don't think he should have to. But, I mean, with all of the case after case after case, example after example of individuals who are being silenced in all of these different countries. Like I said before, you can't burn the internet.
No.
You can't light fire to the internet. It's not like the books of the 1930s, man. But this is
what
what they're trying to do.
What you can do is use algorithms to keep people from being able to find information on it.
Right.
You can target them at home if they do things you don't want them to do.
Right. And with this admission from Project Veritas, you have to at least consider every other claim that has been made in the last 8 months of the presidential campaign. Was Google and other large organizations working to control searches so that anyone looking for Clinton or Trump would be directed one way versus another way? Was information being suppressed?
Right. I know, this looks more like it's staged.
Yeah.
Obviously, quality is really good.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the Nazis didn't have good cameras, but probably not that good.
No.
Yeah, and I mocked a lot of people for saying that the opponent was Hitler right away when they're talking about Trump, right? But same thing. Some people said that Hillary was Hitler, Obama was Hitler, George W. Bush was Hitler. Everyone's also the Antichrist.
Yeah, none of them are Hitler. None of them are Hitler. But if we're going to draw our parallels here, and say which candidate is most like Hitler, neither one of them are. But the Democrats are the ones that are using tactics that, like you said, have been universally deployed by any number of parties. The communist parties, the Chinese communists, South American governments, Middle Eastern governments. Any government that's ever been has their rabble-rousers, the ones that go out and bully political rivals and the minority groups in their own government. It's just, in North America, we're supposed to have moved beyond this shit.
Right.
Clearly
we have things in place that are supposed to prevent these things from reoccurring like they used to, that we're supposed to have learned. But as generations go by and they start taking the fought and hard-won freedoms for granted, they don't have, even for our generation, but every generation that goes along that doesn't have to worry about fighting this or recovering their freedoms is naturally become less connected to what value they should hold.
Right. It's utterly pathetic that you can watch a video from the 1930s or 40s of political rival groups clashing in the streets and then draw a direct parallel to 2016. Sorry to use the whole current year joke, but let's be honest. It's ridiculous that this has been captured on film and it's actually happening.
So I'm not finding it here. I don't know where I would find it, if I can even find it on YouTube, but they do have footage of them specifically going to someone else's location where they're having a rally and starting a fight there on the street. And it wasn't just the brown shirts that did it. They were just the ones that in the end were successful, And so that we pretend that this can't happen in this day and age. Why? Are people no longer duplicitous? Are people no longer prone to violence? I think it's very obvious from this election. When you look at Hillary's side, even more than Trump, I haven't had a single conservative or libertarian threaten to kick me off Facebook or block me or report me or any of that stuff. And I disagree with them too. I've disagreed with them over many things over many years. All the years I've been on social media, never had a conservative threaten to block me.
Right. The one thing that I think nobody will ever accuse me of is being an eloquent speaker. Sometimes I get a little fired up, I stutter, I race when I speak.
You get frustrated, hit people.
Frustrated. Yeah. But I've had several individuals challenge me on my views of this very topic in the last couple of days on Facebook. And here's the end result of it. I don't care about their feelings.
Right.
Their feelings do not constitute an argument. If you have evidence to show that the video that Project Veritas has created is false, and that the information presented is false, then bring your evidence. Otherwise, do your research and shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Because I'm not interested in your feelings about Trump. Alright? If I show you this video of Democrats actively breaking laws and eliciting violent responses from people and setting things into motion that cause violence, your answer better address that, because if your response to me is, yeah, well, Trump is a rapist, I'm just gonna fucking ignore you because you are not addressing the point.
Yeah. Here's WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks of the day.
Yeah?
Right? Yep. Everyone's looking. Yep. Can't read WikiLeaks.
You know, if they could do that to the internet right now, they would be doing that to the internet right now. It's fucking bullshit, man.
There. I can't get this thing to shrink.
That's
there. What are you gonna do? So yeah, these are just some pictures I've got under a search here. But I'm sure if you go to the internet yourself, you can see images of them clashing on the street. You know, not all. See, I'm not sure what they're showing here. Solidarity
like
stopped.
People milling about.
Solidarity stopped. Well, let's check out the. This is from BBC, which is obviously just a tinfoil hat company. No legacy there.
No, yeah.
They're just like Alex Jones. BBC is exactly like Alex Jones. And where do they have this image? I don't even know where they put it now. Damn it, BBC, fuck you. I don't even know where it is.
A winning news organization, if there ever was one.
Yeah. Anyways. So, I don't know. Is there anything else that we haven't covered here?
I don't know. We've been kind of ranting. It's been like
this is a rambling video.
Yeah. You know, at the end of the day, I'm not a Trump supporter in the traditional sense. Do I think he's the better choice for president over Hillary Clinton?
Right.
Absolutely. I absolutely 100% believe that if you had no other choice and you wanted to cast your vote to make sure that Hillary didn't win, which is what I really think this election is about. This election is about whether or not Hillary gets into power.
Yeah.
And if this is your choice, then you better choose Trump, man, because Hillary is being proven time and time again to be using some of the most dishonest, barbaric tactics to gain political power, and it can't be allowed to stand. Not in a modern democracy or a modern republic or whatever the fuck you want to call it. I don't care, right? It can't be allowed. This woman should be in jail, and the people who work for her should be investigated for their criminal behavior. And it's just not going to happen. And I've heard a lot of people, including yourself, say that the one thing that needs to happen is that the Department of Justice needs to be taken out of the hands of the President of the United States.
Yes. He needs to be able... He can't be calling the shots on investigations from the top down. This is ridiculous. Yeah. Absolutely inappropriate. Well, in Canada, and just to be fair, in Canada, the Prime Minister's office is above investigation. Anything the Prime Minister's office puts in their office cannot be touched, even by our intelligence So you tell me that's not a recipe for disaster. But let's hear what Christopher Hitchens, because people say Christopher Hitchens, I think he would have voted for Hillary, despite the fact that he was highlighting how atrocious her and her husband were for over 20 years, with the left ignoring him or booing him down whenever he would try.
That's a bullshit. Even the people who know him, like Sam Harris and others, have kind of made the claim.
They've been trying to hint at it. Yeah, right. I've been very, very disappointed in Sam about that.
Yeah, I'm not only disappointed in it. I'm outright calling fucking bullshit. No, I'm calling bullshit on it. Right? I don't care that they knew him and I didn't. All right. The fact of the matter is that every instance where you hear Christopher Hitchens talking about Hillary Clinton or Bill Clinton,
it's negative and very alarmed.
Yeah, and he does not like them. He does not support them. And I think there was only one example where he said that there would be an instance where he might support them, and I can't even remember the context of that particular question and how it was phrased or framed.
Right. Well, there's just so much material. Yeah. Any of your listeners that want to go on there, do a search, and you're going to hear what he has to say about about the Clintons, both of them being just the most awful people. But okay, one of the key things, and this is something you won't hear as far as I've heard from people like Sam Harris, Hitchens was very clear on this. He was a single-issue voter. And when it comes to the mystery of really complex people like Hitchens, this is a key. This is the way I've started describing it. It's like a key to unlocking what he's talking about. Because a lot of times you can agree with what he's saying on the surface, like about atheism. But a lot of atheists don't understand why he came to those conclusions. And they would have hated his guts in this election.
Absolutely. And to be clear, his particular grievances with the Clinton Foundation, either Clinton, Bill, or Hillary, always had to do with their backroom political deals and their dishonest tactics.
Not to mention
with everything to do with the emails, the WikiLeaks, the way they
massive corruption,
massive corruption against Bernie Sanders, and then this.
So the way he described it was that there was corruption before, but when the Clintons hit the White House, it changed everything. Now, for instance, he said there used to be soft money and hard money when it came to campaign finance, which was already hypocritical enough. Now that distinction was completely gone after the Clintons got there.
Right.
Just get money wherever you can, get from anyone, anyhow.
Right. There's no way that if Hitchens were alive today, that he would stand idly by and allow these kind of controversies that Clinton has been involved with go
unchecked.
Not a chance. And for someone like Sam Harris, who's supposed to be one of his close friends, to turn around and say that Hitchens would be in...
Well, see, it's because Harris is a very different type of thinker. Yeah. He's a cerebral man. He's intelligent. I'm not trying to say he's stupid. He's not.
No.
But he's human, and this is a bias that he has here. Okay, so Hitchens is a single-issue voter. The reason that he supported the war with George W. Bush at the helm, he didn't care who it was because he was concerned about the people in Iraq and Afghanistan, actually, for that matter, and he believed that those people needed to be taken out, like the leaders, Saddam Hussein, etc. He didn't care that it was a Republican that was leading it up. And then he voted for Obama. He was very clear on this. What was his concern? He was concerned about Iraq and Afghanistan, and he felt that Obama, more than his opposition, took a serious interest in this and would do a better job making sure they became stable democracies. In both cases, the after effect of what he saw once these people got control of these areas was he was very disappointed, to put it mildly. He's very critical of how they handled things.
And maybe he would have lived long enough to be disappointed in Trump, but I think he still would have been pleased that it wasn't Hillary.
So
saying that he would support Hillary is like saying that he made a deathbed confession in my mind.
Yeah, it is. It is the same bullshit. You're right. That's a good analogy. So coming up, knowing his priorities, we cannot know for sure. He could have voted any way. If we're just looking at his priorities, knowing he's a single issue voter, what issues might be the one he went with? Okay, so for years he has been trying to say to people that there is a coming war. It's already happening between civilizations, a clash, a war between Islam and the West. I think now, with the fact that terrorist attacks are almost a weekly occurrence, they're spreading throughout the West. We have all kinds of issues with them pouring into our countries, and he also criticized uncontrolled illegal immigration for this exact reason.
Right.
Right? So I'm just going to play this. I haven't even seen this clip. I'm just going to play it raw.
Is the current war, is a clash of civilizations inevitable into the future between Islam and the West?
Yes. Sure.
People are laughing because they're nervous, but he's serious.
Let me put it like this. Some people say, in fact, there's recently been what's, I think, preposterously called a national intelligence estimate about this. Estimate is certainly the right word. It's not in any sense a finding. It's a piece of subjective impression mongering, but anyway, the finding or the whatever the word I'm looking for, the estimate is that a great number of Muslims are annoyed by our policy, and that thus, and violently so, and thus we are, to a certain extent, a word I also distrust, less safe. Quite how safety is measured in this, or by what means it's estimated, is quite beyond me. I mean, it seems to me, if one asks a question like, does going to war make one more safe? One asks a question that is flat out incoherent, and will elicit, if asked, stupid answers, which is what we have been getting from our intelligence community in any case for the last 2 or 3 decades. However, let's say, all right, we should take care not to make enemies. Well, what care would we have to take? Let me give you the instance of Denmark. Small northern European democracy, multicultural, open-hearted, large immigrant population, no history of imperialism in the Middle East, spends most of its diplomatic efforts and money in the region on helping the Palestinians, has its embassies burned, its diplomatic immunity violated, in countries, by the way, in the capital cities of dictatorships that normally don't allow demonstrations of any kind. Danish embassies are put to the torch. Random Danes and other Scandinavians who might look Danish are hunted down in the streets and killed. Danish diplomats are violated. A conscious, very well organized attempt, supported by several leading Arab governments, is made by sanctions and boycotts to destroy the quite vulnerable Danish economy, and so on.
Right, and of course Hillary wants to increase the refugee intake, 550 something percent. So yeah, Hitchens would be totally down for that.
Well, this is where Sam Harris gets it totally wrong. Being a single, this is why I think whether he intended to do this consciously or not, this is why he can't bring up the fact that Hitchens was a single issue voter. Is because this is clearly, in this day and age, I can't imagine that anything would be more important than the fact that look how mad he got about the fact that cartoons weren't being shown after artists were shot, right? And then it happened again after he died. And now people are just getting shot, raped, blown up, all over Europe. It's happening more and more in North America. And he's been talking about this for who knows how long, right? As a war or a clash of civilizations. It would be very hard for anyone to convince me otherwise that this would have been the issue that he would take up. And where do they stand on this? Hillary, like you say, wants to open up more illegal immigration. Well, let's just say she wants to open up more immigration. We'll forget about the illegal part. But his problem was the fact that these people don't believe in our way of life. They don't believe in the Western values. They, in fact, despise them. They're raised to hate them.
Right.
And then we expect them, now talk about being intolerant of other people's cultures, we expect them to come here and be like us, just like overnight.
Yeah, just so thankful to be brought over into the bountiful,
Yeah. They don't see their way of life over there as terrible. I mean, they would probably like more money and cars or whatever it is they're looking for.
Buildings that stand upright for more than a day before getting blown up.
Well, they've got some pretty nice stuff in some places in the Muslim world.
Yeah, some places. The ones that sell us oil.
But that doesn't mean they want to come over here and give up their religion or their values. And this is the big area that people don't understand. Islam is not like modern day Christianity. You cannot just expect them to be that pliable.
Right. Like people always point to, groups like the Westboro Baptist Church as being a pretty horrible example. You know what? Yes, they're horrible people, deplorable even. Going and protesting the funerals of soldiers.
Right.
That's fucking sick. But you want to know what they don't do? They don't go outside the freaking funeral and then light off a freaking
chest bomb.
Yeah, boom. They don't go to a nightclub full of gay people and shoot them up.
Or, hey, how about this one? They don't take their military training in the U.S. military and then hear some chanting by a certain group going down the street that they want dead cops, and they go and take a sniper rifle and start shooting cops in Dallas.
Right.
Oh wait, that's Black Lives Matter.
Yeah. Well, I think that just about wraps up our incoherent rant. It's almost a little bit like our podcast.
But this one's got visuals.
Yeah, this one's got visuals.
Alrighty, anything you want to say before we click it off?
Fuck you guys.